Namaskar. The topic of discussion today is on the world oceans and seas. You may be aware that the sphere of water on earth refers to the hydrosphere. It encompasses all the water present in seas, oceans, lakes, rivers, reservoirs, ice caps, soil moisture, water vapor present in the atmosphere, and also the water which is present as groundwater. Among all these, ocean stands as the principal component of the hydrosphere. About 97% of the water available on the earth are existing as oceans. The beauty of our planet lies in its blue colored seas and oceans. Oceans cover more than 70% of the earth's surface. Seas and oceans contain a lot of much needed and valuable natural resources. These water masses are the sources of food, energy and minerals. Oceans also serve as waterways for ships to transport people and carry cargo between the continents. The primary role of oceans and seas lie in maintaining the global climate by regulating the air temperature and also by supplying the moisture for rainfall. Without oceans, life would not have originated in our planet. Any ocean is seen as a massive body of water. It is very difficult to understand many of the aspects and processes happening inside the oceans. Scientists called oceanographers study the physical, chemical and biological conditions of the seas and oceans. They also discover the hidden treasures of the seas beneath the water. Oceanographers analyze how the ocean water moves and how it affects the atmospheric conditions. Marine biologists explore and investigate how marine organisms thrive in the sea. The marine geologists investigate how various forces shape the sea floor and the sedimentations happen inside the sea, and also the tectonic forces which are playing their role on the ocean bottoms. Oceanographers use various sophisticated equipment on scientific vessels or ships or submarines and satellites sometimes to monitor the dynamics of all oceans. Maritime engineers also study the design of vessels and their applications with modern tools and technology. The navy of any country has to thoroughly understand the oceans, continental margins and their conditions for defense purposes. If we look at the distribution of the waters in the oceans, they are all interconnected. The oceans contain about 97% of all the water available on the earth. Most of the remaining part exists as glaciers and ice caps, and a little of them is available as lakes and reservoirs or rivers and underground water. Some of them are also available in the air as moisture or water vapor. The aerial distribution of land and ocean on the earth is not homogeneous. In the southern hemisphere, there is 4 times more ocean than land. The southern hemisphere alone consists in the area of about 80% of the oceans. The ratio between land and ocean is almost equal in the northern hemisphere. If we consider it as a mass, there is only 1 mega water body in the whole earth. The International Hydrographic Organization has delimited the world's ocean into various zones. It is very difficult to draw a line to separate the oceans physically. Each one of these oceans also include some smaller bodies of water called as seas, gulfs or bays, which are mostly existing along their margins. However, the continents divide the world oceans into 5 major parts. We call them as the great oceans of the globe. They are the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Antarctic Ocean and the Arctic Ocean. In addition to these great oceans, we have innumerable number of seas and small bays and gulfs. By looking at the world map carefully and meticulously, if you see the world map, one can see the distribution of all these oceans. The total oceanic surface of the globe is 362 million square kilometers, and the volume of water, if we account it, it is roughly about 1349.9 million cubic kilometers of water we have in the oceans. The mean depth of oceans is about 3729 meters. The first one is the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean is the largest of all the world's oceans. The Pacific Ocean has an area of 181.3 million square kilometers with a volume of about 714.4 million cubic kilometers of water and a mean depth of 3940 meters. This amounts to about 46% of the surface of the total extent of oceans and also seas on the globe. Near the equator, if you see, the Pacific Ocean stretches about 24,000 kilometers from Panama to the Malay Peninsula. The North and South America are bordering the Pacific Ocean on the east, and Asia and Australia are bordering the Pacific Ocean along the west. To the north, the Bering Strait links the Pacific Ocean with the Arctic waters, and the Antarctic borders along the southern part of the Pacific Ocean. The following are the salient features of the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean is also the deepest ocean in the world. The mean depth is about 4280 meters. Its greatest depth are at the Marianas Trench and also the Japan Trench, which are more than 10 kilometers deep. The exact known depth is at a depth of about 10,911 meters, which is in the Challenger Deep in the Marianas Trench. This spot is located at about 400 kilometers southwest of Guam. The Pacific Ocean was named by the explorer Ferdinand Magellan. Another important fact is that the location of the Pacific in connection with the international date line. The international date line passes through the Pacific Ocean. The 180-degree meridian is located and called as international date line. It is from here the classification of each day begins. The maximum length of the Pacific is 14,500 kilometers, and its greatest width is about 17,700 kilometers between the Isthmus of Panama and the Malay Peninsula. It is well connected with the other oceans through the following links. Number 1, with the Arctic Ocean by the Bering Strait, with the Atlantic Ocean by the Drake Passage, Straits of Magellan and the Panama Canal, and with the Indian Ocean by passages in the Malay Archipelago and also between Australia and Antarctica. The principal arms of the Pacific Ocean are the Bering Sea in the north, the Gulf of California in the east, the Ross Sea in the south, and the Sea of Japan and the Yellow Sea, East China Sea, South China Sea, and the Sea of the Philippines and the Tasman Seas in the west. There are about 20,000 plus islands in the Pacific Ocean, and many of them are concentrated in the south and western portions. Much of the fresh water to the Pacific comes from a few large rivers like the Columbia River of the North America and the Huang He Cheng River of the China. The floor of the Pacific Ocean is largely a deep sea plain with volcanic swells, sea mounds and guyats. The Pacific is a major oceanic zone for fishing and many other activities. Most of the trans-Pacific sea lanes pass through the Hawaiian Islands. There are good number of notable ports in the Pacific Ocean like the San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, Tokyo, Yokohama, Guangzhou, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Manila and Sydney. Many of them are good tourist spots also. The Atlantic forms another large body of sea water separating the continents of North and South America in the west from Europe and Africa in the east. The Atlantic extends from the Arctic Ocean in the north to the continent of Antarctica in the south. The Atlantic is the second largest ocean in area, covering nearly 1/5 of the Earth's total surface. There are two major divisions. One is the North Atlantic and the other one is the South Atlantic. They are separated by the equator. The North Atlantic, because of several projecting land areas and island arcs, has numerous subdivisions. These subdivisions include three large areas like Mediterranean type seas. One is the Mediterranean Sea, the Gulf of Mexico plus Caribbean Sea and the Arctic Ocean, and two small Mediterranean type seas like the Baltic Sea and the Hudson Bay, and the third part belongs to four marginal seas like the North Sea, English Channel, Irish Sea and the Gulf of St. Lawrence. The Atlantic Ocean has an area of 94.3 million square kilometers, covering a volume of 337.2 million cubic kilometers of water, and the mean depth is about 3,575 meters. It has very broad shelves with depths of less than 200 meters found in the regions like North Sea and the British Islands. The mid-Atlantic ridge, which extends from the Arctic Ocean, is less than 3,000 meters below the surface. This ridge separates the east and west Atlantic troughs. The islands in the Atlantic Ocean are mostly of volcanic origin. The Bermudas are the northernmost coral reef islands rising from an old submarine volcanic cone. Some islands like the British Islands are the continental in form and character. The northern parts are characterized by sea ice in the Atlantic. In the southern Atlantic Ocean, there are large tabular icebergs separating the boundary of the Antarctic from the Atlantic Ocean. The Atlantic, especially the northern parts of the Atlantic, is suitable for sea traffic. The length of the coastlines of Atlantic is almost 0.1 million kilometers. There are elevation extremes in the Atlantics also. The lowest point is the Milwaukee Deep in the Puerto Rico Trench, having a depth of 8,605 meters. Plenty of natural resources like oil and gas fields, fish, marine mammals, sand and gravel aggregates, placer deposits, polymetallic nodules and precious stones exist in this ocean. The third important ocean is the Indian Ocean. The Indian Ocean is the third largest ocean in the world. It covers the Earth's surface area of about 74 million square kilometers. The Indian Ocean also includes the Red Sea, the oil-rich Persian Gulf or the Arabian Gulf, the Arabian Sea, the Andaman Sea and the Bay of Bengal. The Indian Ocean has its extension from Africa on the west to Australia and Indonesia on the east. Asia lies to the north and Antarctica lies in the south. The Indian Ocean has an area of about 74.1 million square kilometers with a volume of water of about 284.6 million cubic kilometers. The mean depth of Indian Ocean is 3,840 meters. The deepest known point is the Java Trench of Indian Ocean. The Indian Ocean is about 9,980 kilometers in width. It narrows towards the north and it is divided into two seas by India and Sri Lanka as the Arabian Sea in the west and also the Bay of Bengal on the east. The longest north-south distance in the Indian Ocean is about 9,880 kilometers from Pakistan to Antarctica. The Indian Ocean has been an important trade route since ancient periods. Many people like the Arab, Chinese and Indian traders navigated the Indian Ocean for several reasons. The Greek historian Herodotus wrote about the expeditions to the Indian Ocean around 600 BC. In 1498 AD, the Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama sailed across the Indian Ocean after rounding the southern tip of Africa. After the opening up of the Suez Canal in 1869, the Indian Ocean became the most direct shipping route between Europe and the Far East. Today, the Indian Ocean is of great industrial importance for several countries. The natural resources found in this ocean are used by many industrial nations in the world. It has vast petroleum resources, huge oil reserves like the Persian Gulf exist in this ocean. Good amount of minerals are found in many areas of Indian Ocean. They include ores of tin, titanium and phosphorites. There are famous seaports in the Indian Ocean like the Calcutta port, the Mumbai port in India, Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, Durban in South Africa and Perth in Australia. The Sunda Islands of Indonesia separate the Indian Ocean from the Pacific Ocean. The notable water passages are the Straits of Malacca, the Sunda Strait and the Timor Sea. The Atlantic and Indian Oceans meet off the tip of Africa. The Indian Ocean alone provides about 7% of the world's total fish catch. The fishing industry's annual catch of Indian Ocean amounts to about 7 million metric tons. Most of the fishing activities take place off the west coast of India. Let us see the details about the Antarctic and the Arctic Oceans. The Antarctic Ocean is the name given to the waters surrounding the Antarctic continent. Many geographers say that these waters do not form a separate ocean at all. It consists of the southern parts of the Atlantic, Indian and Pacific Oceans. The Antarctic, which is also called as Southern Sea or Southern Ocean, has an area of about 20.3 million square kilometers, covered fully with ice, with a mean depth of about 4,500 meters. The surface near the Antarctica freezes in winter and breaks into packs of ice in summer. Flat topped icebergs from 150 to 300 meters thickness drift north of the packed ices. The ocean has a fairly constant temperature of -2 degrees centigrade all through the year. The Arctic Ocean is the smallest ocean in the world. It covers about 9.5 million square kilometers. It is less than a tenth of the area of the largest ocean like the Pacific. It lies north of Asia, Europe and North America. Some geographers consider it as a part of the Atlantic Ocean rather than a separate body of water. The North Pole is near the center of the Arctic Ocean, and ice covers much of the ocean all through the year. The Arctic Ocean has a great commercial and military importance even today. The ocean has the shortest air routes between North America and both Russia and the Western Europe. Russia has alone about 25,000 kilometers of coastline of the Arctic Ocean. A group of islands divide the ocean's coastal waters into 7 seas. They are from the west to the east as the Greenland Sea, the Barents, the Kara, the Leptev, the East Siberian, the Chukchi and the Beaufort. The Arctic Ocean merges with the Atlantic Ocean east and west of the Greenland. The Bering Straits connects the Arctic Ocean with the Pacific Ocean. The Arctic Ocean has an area of 12.25 million square kilometers with a volume of 13.7 million cubic kilometers. The greatest width of the Arctic Ocean is about 4,500 kilometers, located between Alaska and Norway. Its greatest known depth is about 5,500 meters. The Arctic too has good deposits of oil and natural gas reserves beneath the continental shelves. The water masses present in various parts of the Arctic Ocean differ in saltiness and also the temperature from that of the other oceans. The surface water of the Arctic Ocean extends to a depth of about 45 meters and has a summer temperature of about -1 degree centigrade and a winter temperature of about -2 degrees centigrade. Most of the surface water of Arctic freezes. The Arctic ice remains frozen most of the period of the year around the North Pole. Let us see the distribution of notable seas in the world. The seas of the world are almost hundreds in number, but only a few of them are notable seas, and we are going to see most of the notable ones only here. The notable seas of the world are the Mediterranean Sea, the Caribbean Sea, the South China Sea, the Bering Sea, the Gulf of Mexico, the Okhotsk Sea, the East China Sea, the Hudson Bay, the Japan Sea, the Andaman Sea, the North Sea, the Red Sea, and the Baltic Sea. The Mediterranean Sea has an area of about 2,965,800 square kilometers and an average depth of 1,429 meters. The greatest known depth of Mediterranean Sea is 4,632 meters, located off Cape Matapan near Greece. Next comes the Caribbean Sea. The Caribbean Sea has an area of about 2.718 million square kilometers and a mean depth of about 2,647 meters. The greatest known depth is at about 6,946 meters, which is located off Cayman Islands. The third one is the South China Sea. It has an area of about 2.319 million square kilometers and the mean depth is about 1,652 meters. The greatest known depth is 5,016 meters and it is located at the west of Luzon location. The fourth one is the Bering Sea. The Bering Sea has a total area of 2.29 million square kilometers and the depth is about 1,547 meters. The greatest depth is at about 4,773 meters off Buldir Island. The next sea is the Gulf of Mexico. The total area of the Gulf of Mexico is 1.592 million square kilometers and the average depth is about 1,486 meters. The Gulf of Mexico has got the deepest point at a depth of about 3,787 meters, which is located near the 6B deep. Next comes the Okhotsk Sea. The Okhotsk Sea has a total area of about 1.589 million square kilometers with a mean depth of about 838 meters. The deepest point location at a depth of about 3,658 meters. The East China Sea has a total area of about 1.249 million square kilometers and a mean depth of about 188 meters. Of course, the deepest point is at about 2,782 meters. The eighth one is the Hudson Bay. The Hudson Bay has a total area of about 1.232 million square kilometers and the mean depth is about 128 meters. Of course, the deepest point of Hudson Bay is at about 183 meters only. The Japan Sea is one of the important seas in the east. It has the total area of about 1 million square kilometers and the mean depth is about 1,350 meters. And the deepest point, known point of the Japan Sea is about 3,743 meters, which is located at the central basin. Next comes the Andaman Sea. The Andaman Sea has got an area of about 0.79 million square kilometers with a mean depth of about 870 meters. The deepest point of Andaman Sea is at depth of about 3777 meters off Car Nicobar Island, and that deepest point is located near that. Next comes the North Sea. The North Sea has got an area of about 0.5 million square kilometers with a mean depth of about 94 meters only. The maximum depth of the North Sea is about 660 meters, which is located at Skagerrak point of the North Sea. The 12th sea is the Red Sea. It has a total area of about 0.4 million square kilometers with a mean depth of 491 meters. The deepest point of the Red Sea is at a depth of about 2211 meters. This point is located off Port Sudan. Next comes the Baltic Sea. The Baltic Sea has also got an area of about 0.4 million square kilometers with a mean depth of about 55 meters only. The maximum depth of the Baltic Sea is 421 meters and the deepest point is located off Gotland. Oceans contain huge amount of natural resources. They provide food, energy, minerals and medicines. The food from the ocean consists mainly of fish and shellfish. The worldwide fish catch from the ocean totals about 90 billion kilograms every year. Most of the catch comes from the coastal waters. Seaweeds also serve as a source of food in addition to having industrial applications or uses. Kelp, a large brown variety, is one of the most important seaweeds. Kelp contains many vitamins and such minerals as iodine and potassium. Ocean water is a suitable medium for intensive aquaculture. Fish or prawn farming, also called as aquaculture or mariculture, has been practiced for thousands of years in China and some other Asian countries. There are several forms of energy available from the ocean. Petroleum and natural gas are the ocean's most valuable energy resources. Offshore oil wells taps deposits of oil and gas beneath the sea floor. It is believed that about 3 trillion barrels of oil still lie undiscovered beneath these oceans. Once the land based oil reserves are used up by us fully, man has to explore these underwater oil reserves. The tides of oceans can also provide a good amount of kinetic energy. The rise and fall of the tides can help in generating electricity called tidal energy. Minerals recovered from the ocean include sand and gravels mined from the sea floor. Some ocean bottom sands contain rich phosphorides and other chemicals. In addition to this, a huge amount of manganese deposit also exists on the ocean bottom in the form of manganese nodules. These nodules contain cobalt, copper and nickel. A good amount of medicines are also produced from many of the marine life. For example, plant like organisms called red algae provide an anticoagulant, a drug that keeps blood from clotting. A typical species of marine snail produces a substance that relaxes the muscles. In addition, ocean also contain corals, pearls and shells which are used in jewelry. The sponges derived from the ocean bottoms are better in quality than the synthetic sponges prepared in industries. The most important aspect of oceans is its influence on global and local climate. The global climate is maintained by the oceans. During summer, the ocean stores the excess heat received from the sun, and in winter, when the sunlight is weaker, the ocean releases the stored heat into the air. Circulation of ocean waters also affect the temperature of air. Currents carry excess heat from one area of the ocean to another area. There will be no rainfall or snowfall if there is no ocean. The oceans have been used as a good transnational waterways for trade since people built the first ships. The world's seas and oceans are the hydrosphere's heart and soul. We will see some more details of oceanography in our forthcoming modules.